Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Abraham Chicks. And my name's Tina, I'm the host. And our guest today is actually a walking miracle. Her name is Nicole Swan. And technically, Nicole died and then came back to us. So I'm so excited to have you here. And just it's a subject that I'm really curious about myself. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
So let's just dive straight in.
Okay.
So you've had a near-death experience, which is probably 2 years ago. So tell us the journey up to that point, where you were and what you were doing.
So I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee, but at the time I had been living and working in New York, in Manhattan. So I was there for almost 12 years on and off. And it's while living in New York that I discovered Abraham. Through college and on up, I had known of Wayne Dyer, and then they did Co-Creating at Its Best. And so I looked and was like, who are you? And it was Wayne talking with Esther. Well, ironically, she was coming to New York that weekend. So I went to one of her seminars and was blown away. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. I'm home. And
that was your first synchronicity with the universe.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was incredible. So got really involved with Abraham for about 2 years before my accident, going to the seminars when she would come to New York, Westchester, and then went to a couple of cruises and land cruises as well. So I got quite familiar with the material and have been in the hot seat several times and was on quite a spiritual journey already. And then okay, this is a big story, but if you want to talk about synchronicities, I was offered a free cruise with a girlfriend around Europe. We went to Italy, Greece, Croatia, and on that cruise, we were so lit up and just flying high that I met this family from Australia who was like, I don't know why, but I need you. I need to sponsor you and bring you to Australia. You have to work for me. And so I was excited to live on that side of the planet and explore. I mean,
was Australia somewhere that you thought you wanted to go before, or?
No, it was not even on my radar. But your vacations would be Bali and Thailand, and it's just, there's so much to play over there. So I was really excited. And so I took the job offer and I went to Australia. And while I was in Australia, I flew home and went to the land cruise in Mexico. And then when I came back into Australia, there was a bit of complication with my paperwork. I was being sponsored, and I won't get into the details, but they denied me entry and sent me to Hawaii. So while I was in Hawaii, I was staying with a lovely couple that I met in the land cruise down in Mexico. They lived on Hawaii. And so I was staying with them, and they went on the Abraham cruise in Alaska for July 4th. And while they were away, I borrowed a friend's moped, which I had no business being on. So I was bopping around the island on a moped in Hawaii with no helmet on. And ironically, I was headed to the store to buy a helmet that day, but got hit by a car. And so on the outside, that would have looked like a really terrible thing that happened, but it's actually been the best thing that has ever happened to me and has completely changed my life in such an amazing way. So a little bit of a long story that got me there, but so cool because I've had just amazing synchronicities, like you said, that just led me to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. You could not make this stuff up. And
oh God, it's crazy. And to think that, probably the contrast of you not getting back into Australia, where I presume you were having a life there with friends and loved ones and all the rest of it, and to not be able to get back in, that must have at that time felt horrific.
It was actually really funny because I was at the land cruise in Mexico just before I got denied the entry. And yes, I did have a life, I had a job, I had a live-in boyfriend. I was making a home in Australia.
Yeah.
My hot seat question on the last day of the land cruise was about how I had been having so much fun at this land cruise, surrounded by so many like-minded people and just being high the entire time. I don't quite know how to go back to Australia where I was hiding a bit of myself. Like my boyfriend didn't really believe in law of attraction. His friends were not open-minded. And so I sort of had two lives that I was living in a sense. And so, and of course, Abraham had a really great answer saying, I didn't come to Mexico to have fun. Of course, I created Mexico so that I can literally create that experience anywhere I go. And what's amazing is now I didn't get back into Australia, but I'm glad, because I would have been living a life where I wasn't getting to fully, authentically be me. Instead, it's redirected me here, thanks to my accident, to Southern California, where I joke with my friends that I literally live in a permanent land cruise. I'm surrounded here with so many amazing, like-minded people. In fact, tomorrow, Abraham's going to be here in San Diego for a conference, and then we all get together for a big gathering after, and there's like 150 of us, and we're a family,
I knew I should have come and done a live interview with you.
You should have. I mean, we're in a beautiful place, right on the beach. So many fun things going on, and just surrounded by like-minded people. I literally created a permanent land cruise for myself, and so you can't make this stuff up. There really is a bigger plan, someone moving all the pieces around that's helping guide you to anything and everything you want.
Definitely. It's almost like when you were at the land cruise, which I was at that land cruise as well in Cancun. So it's so interesting that our vibration is clearly, we were destined to meet at some point. But it's almost like your vibration changed at that point. So then when you tried to go back,
I wasn't a fit.
It was like, it's not happening. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, while you're in it, it looks really bad, right? So I had a lot of dark contrast. I was refused entry and sent to Hawaii, which, I mean, amazingly enough, I had these beautiful friends, Jim and Judy from the Abraham community, who scooped me up and cared for me. But I couldn't get back in. I was working with lawyers. Then I have an accident which broke my neck. I had brain damage for a while, and it looked so dark. And for a bit, I was like, I don't understand. Abraham, you said I was going back to, I was angry and dark, but only for a brief moment. And once you get through the contrast, you realize, that was literally the best thing that could have ever happened to me. And that's what started the accident too really opened it up, what I experienced when I was on the other side, but really confirms nothing is ever happening to you. It is always happening for you, always, no matter what it looks like. So now I'm in a place in life where when the contrast comes, those dark moments, it's like, oh, something good is coming from this. It's never a bad thing. You just ride through it and go, oh, it elevated somehow.
You can almost start getting excited about the contrast, or just knowing that there's something on the other side that's much brighter.
Every time. It's such an amazing place to be. And so when you start living your life from that place, everything changes. So.
I can imagine. Well, let's go back to the point of the accident, because I'm really curious as to what you remember, in terms of what happened, what did it look like, what did you feel, all these sensations.
So I actually
did you feel the pain is the first question.
Yeah, this is an important one that I get a lot. I actually barely even remember getting on the moped, and I rode it for a good 20 minutes before the accident happens. So most oftentimes, and I've heard this a lot through other near-death experiencers or through mediums that I've watched who talk to loved ones who've crossed over, your soul actually checks out of the body before the actual experience happens. And I was this situation as well. I don't actually remember, nor did I experience any of the gruesome stuff. I just lovingly awoke back in my body, already stitched up and healed, once I had made the decision to return. So even though there's an experience happening, someone saw me on the road, had to take me to the emergency room. There were people physically interacting with me here in 3D. My soul was not in on the process. It was just an experience for them to have here in 3D reality. But
so were you aware of any of that going on at the time?
Yeah, no, I just woke up in my hospital room the next day, already stitched up and in a neck brace. I actually didn't know what was going on, and I guess they had my cell phone on my chest, and I guess because these days we have passcode locks, right? So it's not like they can just call your phone, call your mother and let them know. And so I kind of woke up and took a selfie of myself to be like, what's going on? and saw and was like, oh, yeah, it's not a pretty picture. But I had a really fast recovery. Doctors thought it was going to take about a year before I was okay, because I was a bit like Dory on Finding Nemo with no memory and, in a neck brace. And no, like 2 months later, I was pretty much back to normal. And so it was literally just meant to shift my life and to wake me up, because I have had what I lovingly call a spiritual awakening through the process. And yeah, I didn't experience the pain other than some healing post accident.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's kind of reassuring to hear that as well, because I think a lot of people, they fear death or they fear the pain of death, so that's kind of reassuring to hear.
It's hard to say. And I was watching this show once, and a medium was talking to a family, which was a tough conversation to have, but their little girl had been beaten and killed, and he was like, listen, she was not in her body at the time of that happening. And so it was really heartwarming to know that your soul does check out. And so if you have someone that's abused beforehand, or if there's a traumatic accident, that your soul's not actually in the body experiencing that when it happens. So not at all. And the other side, I'm gonna tell you, is nothing but pure love. It's just pure love.
Okay, so going to the other side, is this something that you remembered as soon as you woke up, or was it something that came later?
It's something I remember through it and remembered when I wake up. So It's a bit like, how in the morning you wake up and you were dreaming, but you can't quite remember. It's like that, except I remember fully in every detail, as clear as day, same as you and me having this conversation right now. It was that real, that clean of an experience that I can go back to at any moment. And so on the other side, and I say other side because it just gets complicated. It's not just like there's one side, there's different levels you can go to. There's a spirit realm where all your friends and family are. There's there's different levels, but we don't have to get into all that.
We can get into as I'm so fascinated by this, so this could be a long talk. But
I've got a YouTube channel, and I have lots of videos about all of that stuff. I have a good one about crossing over, and then I have some about the spirit realm, and then I did a really fun Facebook Live with a friend of mine who sees spirit same as humans. She's seen them her whole life. So we actually did a live together talking about the different realms, where I went when I crossed, where she was, and what all of that looks like. But I do have a good friend who's had a near death, who was greeted by loved ones and even her dogs. And so your friends and family can and will be there if that's something you choose.
So who was there for you? Or
when I crossed over, I was in a place of no form. So the spirit realm, there is still a bit of form. You can see people, you can see loved ones. I was in an extra dimensional space, is the best word I could use at the moment, where there's no form. So right now, your awareness that you have a body, you can look down and see your body, and you're you. I was me, but there was no form, there's no body. And who I was speaking to, also no form, no body. I was just in a place that was all that is, if that makes sense. It was just all that is. And it was nothing but pure love. Like what you think of as love or ecstasy here doesn't even come close. It's that times a billion. So one of the things I got to bring back with me here is the knowing how we really are all just love and made up of love, and how it all works, that we create fear and play with it to have the experiences, the contrast that we do here on earth, so that we have that soul growth. It's so hard to put into words because it was a vibrational place, but I say, like, if it were a feeling, it would be like if you slip down into a hot bath and you're like, oh, this feels amazing. And if it were a color, it would be a soft pink, and it was just that feeling of just unconditional support, love, and knowing that that's all there is, and that's all we are. And
I guess, if this happens to everybody, I can imagine some people getting into that space, and maybe the contrast of their physical experience being such an experience where they decide, well, actually, I want to stay. Is that how it works? You choose?
Well, you are in the driver's seat at all times. So it's not like there is something controlling your soul. You are fully in control of the journey you're on and what you're wanting to experience on the path that is your personal growth. And so there are different places you can go, and some people have crossed over and had a negative experience. And so it's all here because if you think about it, it's a bit like I had a friend make a really good reference that she saw her boyfriend playing a video game, and he was on a headset talking with all his friends who were in other homes, and they're playing a video game, but they had characters in the game that they're controlling, right? And able to talk to each other. Okay, you turn left, I'm gonna go right. And I thought that's such a great analogy. It's sort of like your higher self, your inner being, is the guy with the controller and has the headset, talking to everyone, fully in control of what's going on. And your personality here in 3D Earth is that little character in the game walking about. So they can see the bigger picture and are helping guide you along with your friends and your family and everything else to create the experience you're having. And so it's a bit like that, which I thought that was a fun analogy.
Yeah, definitely. And the voice that you were hearing, or the energy that you were communicating with, was it male? Was it female? Or was it just a vibration?
There's no male or female. Again, definitely just vibration on that higher up level. More than likely a guide or a loved one, someone here, because I was in a place where I was a bit tired. I was working with lawyers trying to get back into Australia. It wasn't working. My boyfriend and I at the time were starting to have outs. My job wasn't able to keep waiting for me. And I felt a bit like I was swimming and trying to keep my head above water, and I was tired. I had been through so much, and yeah, the best I can say is I was just tired. And so I definitely think the timing of that accident could have and would have been a checkout point where I was like, okay, I'm just done.
I've heard of those before. I've heard a couple of friends talk about that as well, that have had accidents and just, connected it, that they had the choice at that time to check out.
Yeah, and it was definitely one of those moments. And whoever I was speaking with, more than likely, this guide or loved one who's with me along my journey, pointed out that if I come back, it's not going to look like it has been, like my normal life of working and checking in and out, that it was going to be a different journey. Now, I chose to remember the entire conversation clear as day, except for them explaining what the journey was going to be. It's a bit like womp, womp, womp. It's going to be, you're going to go this path and it's going to be X, Y, Z. But I think I chose not to remember that because it's unfolding for me. And you don't want someone to
You want to know everything. Yeah. There'll be no surprises then.
Yeah. So I definitely remember going, oh, okay, well, if life's going to be different and I'm going this way, then okay, I'll go back in and I'll play that game. I'm just finished with this game, if that's what it looks like. And so they're like, no, it's going to be this, it's going to be different. And I popped back in, still me, but different, like just more aware, more knowing. And yeah, like I said, just living in this permanent land cruise where things are unfolding for me and developing that I had no idea exist. So,
wow. And how long were you unconscious or in the coma state for?
Yeah, so the accident happened early morning, not super early, probably like 10 a.m. And then I woke up later that night. It was probably close to midnight when I woke up, stitched up, and I wasn't in a hospital room yet. I was in a bed out in the hallway. I guess they didn't have a room ready for me yet. So it was nearly a full day. I don't have the exact time, like I said. I haven't dug into the details of the paperwork.
Yeah. Do you know how long you were crossed over or in the decision process of whether to come back? Or
So the irony of crossing over is there's no such thing as time. And so here in 3D, you can have an experience of 1 second, and over there it could have been 100 years. You can have an experience here of an hour, and it could have been 5 weeks. And so I've often described that as sort of being like, Netflix is something people often use, and everything already exists in Netflix. There's movies, there's shows, so you can be watching a movie, be deep in it, pause it, go to another movie, watch it, pause it, rewind, go back to the movie where you started. So it's all there, and you're choosing when and where to peek in. And so your experience you're having as Tina right now, or as me, Nicole, right now, is the movie. You're having the experience, but you can pause it, pop out, go to another movie, come back, and it could have just been seconds here. No one would have even known that I was gone. So,
and I guess that then you get into the whole parallel universe, and I mean, literally, it's the Matrix, then, isn't it? Where you can literally just be. There's no time. There's no.
Correct. Yeah, it's all just here, and we construct it all to play and have these experiences so that our soul, our higher self, whatever you want to call it, our soul can have the journey and the growth and the experience that it wants to have. And you're literally in control, saying, okay, when I'm born this time, I choose these parents because I want to have this certain, contrast, because I really want to work on self-love this time around, or I really want to know, passion in a deeper way, or, just whatever your soul journey is wanting to experience. And sometimes it could be what we consider negative. Maybe someone's journey is to come and experience cancer and not make it through the battle. And to us, that may seem like a negative experience, but you really can never judge why someone's soul is on the journey that it is. Some are here to beat cancer, and some are here to not beat cancer, but maybe they knew coming in there was a contract with their family members that their family members wanted to experience losing a loved one, because then they open a foundation that helps thousands of people, So you can never really know the bigger picture of why we're here. The important part is just not to judge it. Like, we tend to say, oh, that looks bad, or this looks good, when really something that looks bad can create the most good for so many people, that the soul chose that journey in order to help thousands of people,
Exactly. So you must have had some clarity on what your soul journey is now, or your purpose.
Definitely. I want to be in service big time, which I always sort of knew. My degree was veterinary medicine because I had a really strong connection with animals since I was born. But animals are so connected, right? They know who they are and why they're here. And so it makes perfect sense. I was so deeply connected with them. But I also always worked in hospitality. It was always a being in service for people. How can I help people? I just didn't realize how that all would come together. And now through this, I more so just want to share my story, my journey, and help people see the love that we really are. And so definitely being in and of service. Also self-love, because I had really low self-esteem. I was one of those people that my energy was, please love me. What can I do for you to be my friend? What can I do to be enough for you? And that completely switched. I came back with so much self-love that that alone makes me a completely different person. So,
and how was that reflected back to you? Because it must have been different even with people that know you. Did they recognize the difference?
Yep, some are, and sadly some friends have dropped away. But I realized when you run the energy of, please love me, I'm not enough, what can I do for you to be my friend? You tend to attract the people who are, I need you, do for me.
And I'm going to take from you.
Confident. Mm-hmm. Now that I am who I am, the people who I'm attracting in my life are just beautiful and amazing, and we meet each other on a well-balanced energetically space of, we give to each other. Every time we come together, we leave better, both of us. No one's a giver and a taker. It's fully balanced in just love and trust. And there's this new space of, if something happens, say you have a trigger with one of your friends that upsets you, we're able to look at it and talk about it and dive in deeper and really go there, like set our egos aside and talk about, when you said this, it really upset me. Oh, well, let's look at why that upset you, or let's look at why we co-created this experience together. It's never, look what you did to me. It's, look what we created together. I wonder why, what's in this for us. Then you dissect it with your egos aside, and it brings you closer together, and we grow so much. And so it's a whole new playing field of friendship, of relationships. Yeah.
It really is. I think I heard the saying yesterday or today about your perspective really being your currency, in terms of how abundant your life will be as your perspective changes and shifts. And it sounds like yours has gone 180 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, it really is learning how you're fully supported in every way. And I'm pretty sure Abraham's probably even said it, that, I mean, you're just fully supported. We're not here, I didn't come back from crossing over to live on the street in a cardboard box and not be able to help. Like, we are here on a journey, and whatever journey your soul's here to experience, you're fully supported to have that journey. And so I started playing with that, right? Because, I should go back to the grind and working 9 to 5 to make the money to have a roof over my head. And instead, life has supported me in a way that, I haven't paid a dime in rent in 2 years because things have come together where a friend needed house sitting that turned into a year-long gig, you know. So life just comes together and brings you the right people when you get out of the way to support you in what you need or what your journey is, but never in a way that's taking from someone, always in a way that everybody gains from the experiences. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. And I think that that's a really valuable point for people to sort of recognize, that manifesting or creating money or abundance or anything that makes you feel supported, it can come in so many ways. You know, you talked about free cruises, free rent. You know, I've had similar experiences where normally I would be fighting to support myself and to be working and earning, and then circumstances changed and it's actually I'm being carried and supported right now. And working through that situation where you actually allow it and appreciate it and think, well, actually it doesn't matter how it comes, just allow it to come.
That's a huge one. Allowing, like worthiness, right? You don't feel worthy or someone, I used to really judge, I feel like I'm taking from someone. If someone's giving, I feel like I'm taking, and that doesn't feel good. And someone really helped make it clear for me one day, Nicole, how do you feel when you give to someone or when you help a friend? I'm like, I love it. I would do, you know, I really enjoy giving. They're like, when someone wants to give to you, you're taking that away or blocking that by saying, oh no, I feel bad, I don't want to take. You're not taking, you're allowing them to feel and express the joy that lights them up in doing for others. And so it really is an energetic balance, the giving and receiving. And you can't always just give. You have to have a healthy balance of being able to accept and receive as well. Remembering that it's never taking from someone. It's just love circling. I do like the infinity symbol.
And I think so many people will resonate with that, and I think in particular women, you know, they're so used to giving, whether it's for their jobs, their careers, their children, their families, give, and then, you know, elements of resentment can start to kick in because they're not receiving. But when you switch it around and say, allow yourself to receive, oh no, I couldn't possibly take time off, or I couldn't possibly, you know, go and do that for myself or spend that money on myself. But as soon as you do, you just see the shift. It's so powerful.
It's ironic what happens when you allow yourself to take care of yourself. Oh, I couldn't possibly take this day off. But if you do, you're not only refreshing yourself so that you have more to give to others by taking care of yourself, but you're showing others it's important to take care of yourself. So you're actually showing your children it's important to take care of themselves, you know? So by saying, oh no, I couldn't possibly take time off, not only are you not caring for yourself, but you're showing others you shouldn't care for yourself. So it actually benefits so many other people to do what we would consider or judge to be selfish, but it's not selfish at all. It's you taking off your mask and showing, no, we're here to care for ourselves, and from that loving space is where we give, and then everyone else has permission slip to do the same, to be the same.
Exactly. Permission slip. Well, I was talking about that as well this week. That's what it, I mean, your permission slip was pretty big. You know, had a horrific accident and came out the other side.
So dramatic. Apparently I like the dramatic approach. A lot of people could just, you know, have a dream and wake up, or
I'm the same. I survived a hurricane. Not to the extent.
Just like the drama, right?
Yeah, exactly. We've got to have a story. So, I mean, before your accident, you were obviously, you were on your path. You were already into Abraham. You were already following the teachings and probably living, you know, part of the teachings or some or all of them. What have you seen as the big change? Because clearly there has been a big change.
So Abraham was a huge aspect of my life and always will be. And it's amazing what it creates, because anywhere I've moved or gone, there's been automatic built-in family. Because if you're like-minded or through Abraham, you automatically connect on this deeper level. So it's provided me literally a family where I just moved out here to San Diego where I knew no one, and automatically have a gigantic network of friends and family who are just pure love and support and amazing. All of that aside, there was a bit of something missing for me with the Abraham teachings personally. The way I was defining or listening, I thought, okay, if I just stay positive and I manifest, and it was a bit like I was putting that happy sticker on an empty tank, right? Everything's fine. And if something bad happened, oh no, everything's still fine, all is well, I don't know why this is happening. And bad things, as they could be judged, kept happening. I got deported, I got, you know, hit by a car. I'm like, why are these negative things happening for me? the switch was in the knowing after the accident, just more clarity on really embracing the contrast, or what would be considered contrast. There really is no negative. It's something that's happening. I think Lee in her podcast, if you watched the one the week before, everybody explained my story about the inchworm, where it really is, I saw that image of like the inchworm's body has to go backwards just a hair so that it can propel the section of its body forward, and then goes back just a hair to propel forward. And that's literally how the universe, how creation is. That little bit backwards looks bad or negative, but without it, you can't have the growth, the question, the asking, and then the giant leap forward. So the contrast is literally what creation is and why we're here. Otherwise, we'd just all be sitting here with 10 houses and 10 cars, bored out of our minds. Like, okay, maybe not bored, but
driving around a lot.
Yeah.
It's true, but I think that a lot of people, when they first look into law of attraction, that's the initial belief, isn't it? If I just be happy, if I just be positive, I will attract in all that I'm thinking about. But what they're forgetting about is that the vibration is also part of their belief, part of their environment, part of their family around them and their friends. And so if your belief is that it's not possible, even though you're thinking, I want this, I want this, I want this, you're actually attracting the belief of, I can't have this. Whereas,
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, your belief though has shifted through your knowing, through the experience of what happened. And I think when you get to that place of really trusting, and where you can really surrender to it, that's when the law of attraction can just guide you to be, do, have anything you want.
For you, that was the main thing. When you're saying to have anything you want, or I want this, I want this, I want this, we in our minds think we know what we want, but that's from such a limited perspective, and our higher selves know so much more than we could ever imagine. I didn't even know I wanted California. I didn't even know I wanted the gifts that are coming online from this accident. I didn't even know I wanted interviews like this, right? But my higher self knew. And so it really is about not only I want this, so I need it, and you're so focused, that takes so much energy and concentration of wanting. There's a bigger piece, and Abraham touches on it, of letting go and getting out of the way. So knowing what you want, but loosely, and letting go of the idea of what you want, because it can actually come in so much bigger or better than you could create in your mind. I could have never thought there was a free house for me in Southern California. Everyone was like, don't go, it's expensive, don't live there. And I also dog sit for friends and family, so sometimes I have 2 houses in Southern California. Like, you can't.
No, that's just being greedy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. It just, it's really amazing to live in that space of flow, knowing that you're supported and sort of staying out of the way. So yes, kind of knowing what you want, but being open to it could actually be bigger and better. And so there's a piece of now. The difference is I don't live in a space of, okay, this is what I want, I need to create it. I live in a space of everything really does work out, and I'm so fully supported. I have no idea what that looks like, so I trust, and I'm just going to keep showing up every day. And it starts in the little decisions. If something feels good, someone comes to me, hey, do you want to do this? That feels good, yes. And that's as far as I know. And it just unfolds better and better and better. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. And I think that gives you the opportunity for more beyond the imagination. You don't even know what you want, you know. Right. And I've heard other people talk about this, when you have a firm idea of what you want, you're actually in the conclusion, you're stopping it from being anything more. You're actually stopping the creation. So just be in each moment, be aware of it, ask a question. Does this feel good? Do I want this? Yes, no, choose, next moment. And it takes a lot to live like that. And, there's a lot of judgments that come from that, either within yourself or reflected from other people.
And I definitely am not short of that. My life does not look on the outside what some people would consider. It might look a bit messy, but I'm the happiest I have ever been. And I know I'm just still in the steps of creation. Like, you can't take score too soon, right?
Yes.
But I had one of my viewers asked a really good question of what does that really look like? And the best way I could think to explain it is, if you feel your heart So worry or stress or figuring things out just feels like it's closed. It's so tight, and that takes so much energy, that protecting, that worrying, that figuring things out, where when you're really trusting and allowing, it's so open and you can just feel that love flowing through. So it's really paying attention to your heart space, and whether it feels like you're open and flowing, or if you feel kind of like, I don't know, I'm worried, I'm figuring it out, that space feels so different. And so just constantly checking in with yourself. In what space am I in when I'm making my decisions? Does it feel just like easy and yes and loving, or does it feel like, that takes so much energy.
I guess when you've been to the space of what people would class as the end, and recognize that it's not the end.
Yeah, there is no end.
Then it's almost like, well, what have you got to be worried about? But then, the question that pops up for me is that maybe people are more worried about living than actually dying. And, that it just brings up so many other questions.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely something, that's easy for you to say because you experienced, but Nicole, I didn't get to experience that. I don't have that to check in with. And that's true. I do have that physical, palpable memory that I can check back into. But hopefully you can listen to stories that feel good and they resonate. Whenever you see different people's interviews or stories, you should take what feels good for you. And if it doesn't, then leave it behind, right? We're all just sharing our own personal journeys and experiences. But surely right now, I know if you look online, there's going to be enough to support, if you check out other people's stories, that this is happening for a lot of people. So hopefully that just lets in a little bit more faith for somebody to go, you know what, maybe there is more to all of this, and maybe I can chill out just a little bit and trust a little bit more, take a few more risks.
Exactly. Before your accident, what sort of things would you worry about? Where were your biggest fears at that time?
Money, for sure, is number one for a lot of people. I worried about that a lot. I was definitely working 2 jobs or 3 jobs on the side, extra money, never had enough, trying to get by. So that was always a very heavy concern of mine, which is funny because the journey I'm on right now, I'm learning to redefine my idea of what abundance is, right? Like I don't have to work to physically have money to have the roof over my head at the moment. So then abundance, what does that look like? It looks like something different. Anytime I need something, it's amazing to watch how that creates itself without money as the middleman. And so right now, my journey in the moment is learning how to redefine what my idea of abundance was, because I thought it was only physical money and grinding it out. So that was a big one. And then also friends and family. Like I said, I didn't really have that deep worthiness connection. So the people I was attracting, or I would meet great people, but they couldn't really resonate with me or stay for too long. They would bounce off because I ran this vibration of, I'm not good enough, I'm going to let you down, you're going to leave. Right. And so now I'm in this new space of trusting and knowing and learning who I am and loving myself enough that when you really love yourself, no matter what mistakes you make, your friends are still there because they love you, because they know you're enough. And that's mind blowing for me, this experience. So those are 2 big ones I'm playing with right now.
Wow. And you mentioned that from the experience that you're developing some other gifts. What sort of things are happening for you?
Yeah, so I've always been in tune with animals, but I'm definitely have a way stronger animal communication going on. So I've actually met with a couple clients this week. I've been trying it out where I go to their home and talk to their dog and see if I can really see what's going on. Like I'm a animal listener, I guess. They don't speak in words per se, but you can definitely have some conversation and some energetic readings of who they are and what's going on. So I've been doing that this week. And then I'm also channeling as well. I haven't really come out on my website and YouTube channels yet about my channeling. It's more just me doing it on the side with friends and loved ones, but I'm slowly gaining the confidence to build and branch that out. And so I've been doing a couple sessions for other people and for a couple of groups to start stepping in. It's really scary and vulnerable.
Yeah, I bet. You've got to come out of the closet.
I do. And that's what I've been channeling. Ironically, the message you give others is really for yourself. And my last channeling message for a group on the full moon eclipse, we all had a bonfire, and I ended up channeling for the group. And the message was, we're all needed, and all of us, the light workers, the, whatever you want to call it, us with the gifts that we're kind of hiding or scared or insecure to share because we might be judged or it's not normal, and so you hide. Maybe your loved ones are afraid that you see spirits and talk to them, and so you sort of keep that bit small, where the world actually needs you, and it's time to step up and step through that fear and do what we're here to do, share the love that we're here to be. And so
I hear that message loud and clear. I do. I hear it. It's kind of shifting from that perception of others where you're just a little bit kooky or a little bit quirky to actually know this is you. This is who you are. This is who you be.
You know what's funny? Ironically, the people I thought would judge the most, family, for example, I started coming out of my closet a bit by making YouTube channels that were me talking about insights I would have in life, but not channeling per se. It's a little bit deeper with the channel, but started making YouTube videos that were very progressive thinking. My family's been watching the videos and asking me questions. Some people I would have judged or thought would judge me for it, or I was scared to come out because I might worry my family, are actually supporting and shifting as well. And so it really is us thinking we're protecting ourselves because we don't want to offend anybody, but really they want to grow too. And so we have to put ourselves out there because it shows everyone else to put themselves out there.
Exactly. And the judgment is actually only self-judgment just reflected back to us.
We can be really hard on ourselves.
I know. We need to be much kinder, much more gentle.
Yeah.
For sure. So what's coming up next for you? What's going to be the next part of your journey?
Guys, I keep making the YouTube videos as well. I don't know why. I can only make them when I'm inspired and they just flood out of me. I can't stop them. So I'm not sure what that is or why it's happening, but now and then I'll start to leave the house and it's like, oh, I have to make this video. I have to stop what I'm doing and make this. So there's something happening there. And then I've started doing readings for friends, family. I want to start branching out and trying more and more. Like I said, not only these animal communication appointments I've been making, but as well as seeing what this channeling is that's coming out as well. So I'm in the middle of a journey and realize every day it keeps getting bigger and bigger and shifting in new ways. So I'm not quite sure what the final picture looks like. I'm just following the breadcrumbs, and that's what they are so far.
Yeah, and that's a great lesson for everybody, really, isn't it? In terms of no matter where you are in your journey, it's always progressing. Abraham always says, you never get there, you never get it done. You never get there, you never get it done.
As soon as you finish getting the company that you've always wanted and building it, then it grows into a second company or it switches. We never stop. Our
something completely different. So is this something completely different? I mean, could you have ever imagined, even just like 5 years ago, that you would be, like channeling or readings or?
None of it at all. It's not even possible. To be honest, I didn't even know what chakras were. I didn't realize there was a whole community out here where, I'm not even kidding, all of my friends, we get together, everyone is a psychic, a medium, a channel. I'm like, this is normal. Everyone just exists in this space. It's a whole world outside of the reality I had. The only world I knew was work. And other than, like I said, I had discovered Abraham, so I had a little bit of an idea of law of attraction, but I don't think I fully understood what the depths really were. I don't even think I really understood what channeling was or who Abraham was or where it was coming from, or that there were other channels out there. I just knew I showed up and liked what Esther had to say, so I kept showing up. And so I actually had a friend who I met her at an Abraham event, and would talk all the time about dimensions or readings or aliens or Orion Wars and all this stuff. And I would be like, I love you, but I can't hear it. You're weird. Like, you're just,
it's too much.
And now that's the whole world I'm playing in. So it's almost comical. Like, I could have never known a million years this is where I would be. And so I'm really enjoying the journey.
Yeah. And you can't discuss it with some people, but it's like as you evolve to the next stage, then something that, you know, the idea of other planets and aliens was so far removed. And now it's like, oh, let me just listen to that download from the Pleiadians. You know, I'm just listening to so much more, and just owning the fact that I'm curious. And it started with, you know, Abraham Law of Attraction, but it is growing into a wider consciousness. So
and again,
exciting.
There's so much out there, and it's just about one. I was sort of also living split lives in that sense of, okay, I'm going to come out on YouTube and talk about things happening in my life, but I'm not going to come out about the alien stuff or the channeling stuff or the spirit stuff. And so even in that, I caught myself, oh, I'm doing it again, where I'm living this split life. You really have to just come out, be you, and fully own and talk about the things that make you comfortable, not in a pushing on other people way, just in a being who you are way. And you'd be surprised who else resonates with that as well. And so I was kind of tiptoeing around like, ooh, can I talk about this with this person or not? And I'm learning there's just a loving, soft way to be who you are without pushing or talking about the Pleiadians, you know, on people, that that's acceptable. And it's just you being you in the world. And you'd be amazed how many people gravitate towards, or you bring in friends who are like-minded because you're being authentic. And
of course. And then that is law of attraction, isn't it? You're attracting in, like is attracting like. Yeah, this has been so interesting because, you know, I think some people think that law of attraction is just about, well, write down, you know, journal, write down your goals, be grateful, right, you know, raise your vibration, which it is, it's all of those things, but this is kind of more leading edge in terms of, well, this is actually how you live it. It's you know, it's not a 5-step plan, it's how you embody the
it's
emotions.
good to write down affirmations every day, but that's so much different just writing down, okay, I appreciate I have a car, versus every time I get in my car, for example, it should not still be running. They told me not to drive it to California. I did anyway. And it's a little over a year later, and she's still loving being here. But every time I get in the car, I'm so appreciative. I'm like, I just love you that you're still on this journey with me. You're still hanging in there. Like, let's go. Like, look, we're driving down the coast. Isn't that beautiful? I have genuine love and appreciation for my car, and everything is consciousness. So I know my car feels it, and she loves still being here on this journey with me. And so there's a difference in, okay, writing that I appreciate my car, or genuinely appreciating my car. You know? So.
Bless you. I've really enjoyed just diving into this a bit deeper now. I feel inspired. You know, it's just that reassurance, that knowing that what you think you know, somebody else is saying, yes, this is how it happens, you know?
Yeah. And think about, if it lights you up or excites you, why? You know, if it really interests you or you can't get enough of this, why? Because there's got to be truth in it, or because it's the right path for you. And so just trust that and follow it. So it leads to good places.
Follow feeling good. That's the key.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. I'm excited to see where your journey takes you. I know we're going to be seeing a lot more from you, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of courses and programs and speaking events and all the rest of it to follow. So
yeah, I'm excited to see what comes out with you, Tina. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you so much.